Well, I've just been reading some of the comments on the video that Beth did about whether the pensions of an expat, a foreigner, should go to providing support for the entire family. And it generated quite a lot of comments, and some of them not very nice, or just not put very nice. So the thing is with our channel is it's not a glossy channel. It's not overproduced. It's not got little fast bits where you've got pop music coming in and all that. It's not about beautiful, sexy, overexposed ladies in itsy bitsy tiny polka dot bikinis lying on the surface of a lagoon somewhere in the outer reaches of the Philippines. It's not like that at all. It's actually more, it's more like a reality show. And some of the, it's often quite amusing, not laughing at people, but laughing at the way that the cards fall. In that particular video, somebody was very angry. Why are you? Oh, this was one where they said, no, it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. And Filipinos should learn that this is not the way that it should be. That the foreigner is not responsible for helping anybody that comes along in terms of family. Well, we know this, and the fact is, the only way that you can handle it without getting up somebody's nose is by saying that every person has his own way of doing things. Now, when I came out to the Philippines, I made a sudden decision to go to Cebu, not on the basis of anything that I knew about Cebu, only that someone I had spoken to said, wow, yes, I'd been looking at Cebu and thinking, should I go there? And they said, yeah, it's a great place. You can go to so many great places from Cebu. And that did it. And I came and I met Beth and we got married. It happened very quickly. It was totally illogical. For you people who like to have everything just fall into place perfectly, I'm not that kind of person, and as it happens, neither is Beth. And we met, and in a few months we were married. But we decided to get married within a very, very short time. So how does it work between Beth and I? Now, this does have something to do with the title, because how you are as a person and what your mission is, what your personal mission is when you come out to the Philippines, and there are many different personal missions or ways that they want their life to fall. There are many ways that it can happen. When I came out, the last thing on earth that I thought about was getting married again. I'd just been through a brutal divorce. A lot of people will resonate with that. I'd lost everything. House, work folded. I've already said all of this, but we have so many new subscribers. So have to repeat some of it again. And I came out wondering what this adventure could possibly be. Well, I have no interest in becoming a sex tourist. I'm of a sufficient age when I've seen enough of that. I've made far more than my share of mistakes in that area, and not wine, but certainly women and song. I was a professional musician, and when I came out, I gave all of that up in search of something else. And so many of the people that write to me talk about this, about a lot of them are sitting at home in whatever country they're in, and they're in their 60s, some in their mid-or some on retirement, and they've got children that never come to see them, and a wife or an ex-wife that has either died or they don't want to see or hear their voice ever again, ever again. And they're wondering what the heck to do with their life. Are they just going to die? And that's what some of them say. One man that I know personally was sitting in a wilderness type of situation. He was a man who liked his guns. He hunted for his food. He lived in the house, the log cabin that he built himself. And while sitting there looking out on a snow-capped set of mountains, he suddenly realized he'd better do something or he was just going to die alone. So he came out here, and he is now running a small farm and has a lady that his wife, either common law or otherwise. So this is what happens. So Beth and I got together and we came to Bohol, and the only thing that I could tell Beth at the time was I have very little savings. In fact, as a friend of mine always used to like to hear me say, I would have to save up to be broke. So, did Beth marry me for my money or my pensions? My pensions are an insult. They are a disgrace to the name pensions, just to let you know. But I said to her, Beth, as far as money goes, I have enough that we could live modestly if we were careful, and that neither of us would have to work. So that was the basis upon which we got married. Now, at first, Beth didn't even want to quit her job. She actually loved her job. But the way that it turned out was that I hadn't married someone so that they could spend 10 or 12 hours of the day somewhere else. So we quickly had to resolve that, and we came to Bohol. And we stayed with Beth's mom. So, are we supporting there? Well, who's supporting who? We had no money really. And it was actually quite challenging when we first came, because as we came, I think it was the US, where I have a small pension. The larger of my pensions, of my two small pensions, is from the US, where I lived for over 20 years and became a citizen. So they need to have what's called a life certificate sent to them every year. And I hadn't received the letter which contains the life certificate and envelope which it must be returned in order to be valid. And so they stopped my pension. So we came with the smaller of the two pensions and just about managed to scrape in to Bohol with the few possessions that we had. So we stayed there. At times I can remember one occasion when I was actually under the house that Nana had, that Beth had been brought up in, I think, and we're looking for coins so that we could go into Taliban to check the ATM and see if my pension had come. And coins often fall through the slats of bamboo that make up the floor, and there's a 2 foot gap underneath. Very brave of me, because I'm not fond of snakes and things, which you do get underneath there. So we often, on several occasions, not often, but a couple of occasions, where I had to go under there and see if there was anything that had dropped through that we could use. And in those days, we pawned the wedding ring, and I think there was another small gold trinket that she had, and we had to pawn that to get home. So we went through it. So hardly a situation where we were depending on a rich foreigner, because I was never that. So it gets you to the point of saying, who decides what on pensions and income once you have become married to a Filipina? Well, there is a folklore, a tradition, where if a foreigner marries a Filipina, then at least in the eyes of the extended family, he will be rich. Well, what could one definition of being rich be? Well, one definition would be that you don't have to work in order to be able to feed yourself. So, if that's the case, I'm rich. So, we came and we started, because we didn't have a married life, because everything is open plan in a Filipino house, and while that's okay for some, struggling about in the dark after you think everybody's asleep was not for me. So we decided that we would build what was thought to be like a bedroom, and I started it, and it grew and it grew, and instead of a bedroom, why don't we put a little living room on there, and why don't we add an extra floor, and then what about a kitchen and a place where we can have a breakfast bar, and so on. And so it grew into the little red house. A very modest little house which we lived in with no windows for something like 2 years before we could afford the windows. The windows up to then, certainly the aperture was there, but it was covered in by sheet metal. Well, we got our windows, and just prior to the pandemic starting, or plandemic as I always like to call it, we built and remodeled the house, and we made it beautiful. We did. It was a beautiful little house. It was very small, but we loved it. And every day we woke up in the morning and we would look out in the room on the second floor, and we would feel very, very blessed and lucky. Well, by that time, we'd had many changes. We'd been through having a motorcycle, we'd been through having the small multi-cab, and we had quite a large truck which we used for taking the kids to church on Sundays. And then finally, after saving very, very hard, we had the money to buy our Raptor. And for those who just arrive and only look at one single video which features the Raptor and are saying, wow, you've got a Raptor, how could you possibly have managed that? And I keep saying nowadays in the comments, it was easy. Someone said, wow, that's quite a big house you've got there. You must have come into a wad of money to be able to swing that, implying, of course, that we had done anything but an honest day's work in order to have that. What we have now is not agreeable to everyone. Someone wrote and said, I miss the Beth and Terence that lived on the mountain in that little house and did their charity work. The fact is that sometimes people are funny, that first of all, they don't, if you are doing charity work and helping people who are in a very bad way, which is what we have been doing, they don't want you to be paid. Well, in our charity work, we don't get paid. We do what we do in our charity work, and we do it for no salary. And for 10 years, believe it or not, 10 years, we have been married, and we have worked 24/7 in order to help bring change to our community. Which brings us to, how does anybody decide what the foreigner alone is bringing in terms of support to a family. I can't speak for everyone else. You'll find those answers in the comments, and some of them say, absolutely not, just say no. What the heck? I'm not an ATM, I'm not a bank. Somebody else said, don't be a milk cow. All of these comments reveal the attitude, the mindset, and the beliefs of the person who makes those comments. And obviously, if someone says, you won't find me being a milk cow, then he is not part of any family. And so his comment says that. Now, when I came, I was like that because I was watching, as Beth has said on another video, I was watching that my brother-in-law was eating all the time at Nana's. And I said to Beth, I can afford to do this, and I can afford to eat and feed us and Nanai and the kids, but I don't know how many more mouths I can feed. And the defining moment came when I looked at my brother-in-law as if he were my brother, who I love dearly, passed away in his 50s. What wouldn't I give to see my brother asking for a free meal right now? Anything. And my sister has gone too. Should I view Lena as being any different to my sister? My mother has gone. Should I look at Nanai and say, well, I can't do everything for you, even though no one else is doing anything for you? Would I say that to my mother? So it really depends on your attitude. When you cannot talk as if one size fits all when you talk about whether a foreigner should help his extended family. Now, there are some parts of our extended family that we don't help because they're doing all right, and I don't see them helping anybody else. So they are different, and they're different to me, and they're different to Beth. And the idea that everything comes from me is totally untrue, because Beth works so incredibly hard to do what we do, both privately and for the charity. All of our finances are separated into the charity and into our private finances. And with our private finances, we reached a point where if we had the money and somebody came to the door, often bringing a child that was sick that they couldn't help because they didn't have any money, bringing a kid of 6 or 7 that had never been to school because they couldn't afford to buy a birth certificate or to pay whatever it is in minuscule terms to get them into school. Some people that came had children that needed to have, one was a tiny baby, an infant in the arms, and had a huge cyst that was practically blocking all of one eye. Could we turn that down if we had money there? That was our challenge. And we made a cold, hard decision, as they say, cold and hard in the light of day, that if we didn't do something with the money that we have earned by being modest in our living and saving as much as we could, we would end up just giving it away. And this is absolutely true. So we bought property, and we then started to develop it, and we have a dream. which is much like other people's dreams. We don't have the money to be able to do it, and we'll get it, because one of the maxims that I personally follow is that income follows necessity. Income is generated by necessity. If you go along as many, if you go along and as many Filipinos think, if you only need X amount of pesos in order to live reasonably comfortably, that's what you will earn. So if you place great demands on yourself, then that's also what you will begin to earn. And that's what Beth and I have done. We've made now, you can check on this, not take my word for it. I think the actual number, I say close to 20,000 videos over 10 years, 20,000 videos. It's actually something like 19,650, something like that. And we've done that deliberately, absolutely religiously, although that's a very unpopular word these days, isn't it? See, and that's what we've done. We're still eating rice and beans, noodles, canned food, an occasional meat, chicken. We still live very modestly. And that touches on other comments that we've had. Beth, a recent video showed us eating our food. It was back when we were up at the Red House, so it was far beyond, even further back than the pandemic. And we're just eating our ordinary food. And someone said, "Why are you doing that? Why are you..." Well, I agreed with them, actually. I always say, "Oh no, we're not filming eating. It's like feeding time at the zoo." But Beth doesn't think that. And so we make a video. And then in the next few comments down, someone says, "I'd love to see you living your ordinary life where you are eating your food." And someone else said, "Yes, it's not just about eating, it's about hearing everyday comments, everyday talk about what our life is." When we first started, I have to tell you, and I'll finish fairly soon, I'm meandering on as I frequently do. When we first started, I said to Beth, we need to do a blog. We need to have a channel. I tried it when I was in Florida. It never worked. You can actually find it. It says Terence Flannery. Facebook demanded that I either use Flannery or Martin, and we had to choose Martin because that's what most of it was on. But back then, I was using my original family name of Flannery, and I started a channel, and the one video that we put up there was me singing Joanna at the Shine Hall. You can still find it. It's not terribly good, very bad recording, a tradition that we've kept on. So anyway, we do what we do, and we do it in the vein that we do. And sometimes the videos are low in volume because maybe we were outside and it was windy or something. And even though we appreciate the comments that we get where they're suggesting, well, you should get a gimbal, or you should get this, or you should get a camera, or you should get that, we take those to heart. But very often in my experiences, that when you hold up some huge mechanical thing with a camera lens pointing at the person, they get extremely reserved, and you lose a lot of the natural way that they have. So that has been something that has discouraged us from doing that. We don't agree on everything, Beth and I. We don't have a marriage that is made in heaven. We try to make it that it's that way. We work at it. We work at loving each other. We work at letting things go. We work at allowing for each other's imperfections. Not me, of course. I'm not having any. I'm British, so I don't have any imperfections as such. Just a few little rough edges that could be knocked off, and Beth is the one to do it. So I will end here. But to sum up, as far as it goes, that Filipinos expect that their boyfriends become husbands, will pay everything for everybody. That doesn't strictly apply to Beth and I, because Beth and I are partners, not just in marriage, but we're partners in our business, which is vlogging. So those of you very perceptive people who say they're doing the video, they're making videos for money. Oh heavens, it's true. We make our videos, and in the hope that they are entertaining, we want to be paid for it. Funny how that is, because probably the person who made that comment, they make videos for money. What's the matter with you? You didn't realise that? As a criticism, when they go to work tomorrow, I wonder if they'll expect to be paid at the weekend for what they did. Of course, it's not the same for them. Beth and I are 50-50. Some might say that it's greater on one side than the other. Either way, depending on their viewpoint. And that's okay too. And the only reason that we say we want people to be nice when they comment is that when you give haters a platform, they hate even more. And right now, in the world, there is so much going on that is destined to bring down the glory of humanity and the glory of God, that we all need to be nice to each other. So I understand if you're not feeling very nice, but my suggestion is you go somewhere else and be not very nice, because we're a feel-good channel and that's what we do, and we make no apology for that. Our marriage is what it is. It is centered around a belief in the Almighty, and what else can we say? And that's my wife. Why don't you come here, honey?
I'm going now, baby.
Oh, you're gonna leave now?
I'm just gonna Ate Bekbek and Manang Lina and Lovely is in the ocean.
Okay. See you later.
I have some instruction for you.
Oh. I'm going to be told what to do. Another couple of rough edges will be knocked off in a few minutes coming. Bye for now.